superstar diamond coach from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, Moira Kucaba. And from Kansas City, our newest superstar diamond coach, Ruth Shrauner. Ladies, it's always kind of fun sitting backstage because you're watching the watch and you're wondering when is it time, and it's time, okay? So let's jump in. And again, just by way of introduction, these ladies have all just done some incredible things in their business, but just by quick introduction, let's just share how you came into the coaching business. How did you come to be here? So let's just kind of go from Molly and then Moira and Ruth.
Sure. So as Jeff said, I've been coaching just over 2 years, and I started coaching primarily because I fell in love with accountability groups. I was working in corporate finance at the time, and I had a really good career, and I could see my future with that career, and it was really good. I'm married to my husband Steve, and financially we were secure. So this isn't an opportunity that I needed, but it's an opportunity that I wanted. And I knew the coaching behaviors just made me feel really fulfilled. So that's what got me started.
Okay. Thanks. Moira.
Gosh, our stories couldn't be more opposite. I mean, sitting here today, looking back on just 2 years ago, my life has changed just in every single way. And so 2 years ago, I had opened up, or I guess I should say 3 years ago, I had opened up a cold pressed juice company because I had always had this passion to help people in their lives and to, bring health into the community and to create change. And as glamorous as that looks like on the outside, to own your own cold pressed juice company, if you've ever owned your own business, it owns you, and I was a mom of 2 littles, and I was working an obscene amount of hours, and I was, the marketing department, the branding, the boots on the ground, the investors, just your everything. So your coach relations, don't ever complain about coach relations, because you have to do it all. And ironically, I was at my unhealthiest. That business had just run me into the ground. It had run my marriage into the ground. I hadn't been at a school play or a class party in over a year. My friendships were broken. My relationships were just broken. And I love to point this out that during this time I had been a challenger. And I was the world's worst challenger. So don't give up on anybody. I never showed up, I never posted, I would not sign up for a discount because I wasn't getting involved in that pyramid scheme. And she kept asking me about coaching. And I finally said yes, because something told me inside me that I wasn't going to be able to show up for myself until I showed up for other people. And so I stepped into it truly to be put back together again.
Right, great. And just for the record, both Moira and Molly have been with Beachbody for about 2 years. Ruth, about 3 years ago, I think we just celebrated your 3-year anniversary, but how did you happen to run into Beachbody, if you will?
Yes, especially sitting here, so if you're sitting out there and wondering, this moment was never on my radar, especially 3 years ago, because I was a completely different person. But I think you would look at my life 3 years ago, my husband and I, and you would see our situation. You'd think that we had it all figured out, all put together. I had a master's degree in instructional design, so online training. And he's a veterinarian who was going through a residency for surgery at that time. So outside looking in, we had it figured out, right? The American dream. But the dream was more of a nightmare because underneath those advanced degrees, we had $250,000 of student loan debt. And it was crushing our marriage. When I thought about being a stay-at-home mom in the future and bringing children into our family, it terrified me. It really terrified me. And so I was looking for part-time jobs and things like that on the side. I definitely wasn't looking for this, though. But what was happening on top of this is I was also going to my career. I really wanted to move forward in my career, but kept hitting dead ends. And I'd come home every night and say, is this really it? Like, I did the whole master's thing, but this is all there is. I'm unfulfilled. And then the trifecta, triple threat here of kind of running my life into the ground is my breaking point was when I laid in bed one night and I was talking to Ben and I was crying because I felt ugly and I felt insecure. Didn't like what I looked like in the mirror anymore. And so the next day I Googled T25 21-day fix, and thank God that he put my coach in my life, Jessica.
There was somebody there that had T25 and was looking like this, and you responded to that, right? Joking, kidding, right there. Shalene's left from behind the stage, so I'm safe right now. Okay, Janelle, don't you dare tell her, okay? Now, we're in secrecy. Okay, so let's jump in and get a little bit more tactical on this, and just from a relatability standpoint, everyone has that kind of starting point. If there was a tipping point where you started to get traction in the business, thinking many of these coaches are new, many of these coaches are at that beginning point, what did you do in order to get traction?
I think one of the critical points in my first year is when I let my guard down. And I am a chronic people pleaser, so that was very hard for me to do. But sharing, this is a business of sharing, right? We've heard that throughout the last couple days. But when I started to share more than just a sweaty selfie or a Shakeology photo, and I really started to share my transformation, not just physical, I didn't really have a big physical transformation, but emotional, and talking about how I've overcome certain things through pushing play every day and completing these programs start to finish. That's really when I saw my audience gain trust and credibility in me. So just one more tactical example of something vulnerable that I shared with my audience. I battled an eating disorder in college, and for a long time I never shared anything about it because that's so hard to share. But I started sharing bits and pieces about how these programs and this awesome community of these challenge groups had really helped me gain confidence and balance, and I think that's really what started to drive me forward.
Great. Moira.
Yeah, so, as I said, I didn't come into this with any intention of ever doing this. And so I walked around in this kind of coach world for a few months with just, my toe in the water. And I brought a couple of my best friends through a challenge, and it was really fun. And I was going through my own challenge with them at the time, really for the first time. I was showing up for myself because like I said, I had to show up for them. And because of these silly little vital behaviors that I was told to do, as simple things like, get up and read your personal development for 10 minutes every day before you look at your phone or your computer. Like that right there transformed me. Transformed me. So I had this 3-month window of just this insatiable curiosity as to, what is this? What is going on here? And I like to call it my YouTube stalking days for U10 right up here. And I was really, I was so interested, but I was so wrapped up in fear. I was so wrapped up in the fear of how I was going to be judged if I was going to step into this. And I slowly got drawn in. So 2 years ago, I watched Summit live streamed from my couch. Just happened that, I still I wasn't there yet. Watched Summit live streamed, and the next week I got on my first team call when I was looking at something going like, what's this whole team call thing about? And so I hopped on a team call that Thursday night in July, the first week in July, and I heard from a top coach who told his story. And that night changed everything for me. What I saw him share was how he was able to change people's lives and impact their lives. And I saw his reach, and I saw him doing in people's lives what I'd wanted to do my whole life. And I saw how he was able to have all of his family's dreams come true, and how his family was impacted. And then I saw the business opportunity too. So that spoke to me because my entrepreneurial wheels are always turning. And there was something different that night, I think, about somebody in real time speaking to me, I felt like, that night. And I got off that team call and I called my coach, and I made a decision, is what I did. I made a decision, but it was game on, screw those people, pardon me. I'm going for it. Because what was at risk was my life. You know, I was going to live in mediocrity and fear of being judged for the rest of my life, or I was going to take a chance on that. I was going to take a chance on a life like that.
Fantastic. Ruth.
So I think for me it was my transformation, but it wasn't the physical transformation. So we have some amazing, amazing before and after photos that come from Beachbody programs. And I'm just going to be really honest, that doesn't mean anything if the inside isn't changing. You're just going to be an empty shell if you don't change from the inside. And thank you. So as I actually, I went through the program, I got the abs I never thought I could have. I literally weighed what I weighed when I was in 8th grade, which was insane. And I had these stupid extra small spandex Reebok shorts. And this was about 4 months into coaching. And I'll never forget, I was in my living room taking my mirror selfie. And I sat there and I said out loud, I said, ooh, I'm fat. And the moment the words came out of my mouth, I wanted to shove them back in because I was so disappointed in who I still was. I didn't change. I was still the same person. And it took me saying that out loud to realize I had a lot of internal work to do. And that day, I wanted to become a better person for my challengers, for my coaches. And so it sounds really crazy, but it's actually exactly what Mindy said yesterday. I began telling myself positive things every single day. Anytime I'd look in that mirror and I'd want to say something negative, pick apart the flaws, the imperfections, I'd replace it with a positive statement. And over the course of a few months, I fell in love with who I was. At 29 years old, that's how long it took me. And it was the best feeling ever. And when you feel that way, you want to pay it forward to everyone else. And so that was my turning point.
That's awesome. Let's drill down we don't have a lot of time, but let's drill down maybe a little bit deeper on what you do. Molly, you shared that as you came into the business, this wasn't something that you necessarily had to, that you had to do. As you worked through the initial stages of your business, how did you create belief in yourselves and build belief in other coaches around you as you start in those first 6 months, so to speak?
Right. So the short answer is I created belief in myself through action. And action of pushing play on my workout, drinking my shake, doing my personal development every single day, seeing good results come not just from myself, but from my challengers, because I was putting energy and heart into those challenge groups every single day. And so what those actions did is they created the small wins. That small win of seeing your name on the Success Club board, or the small win of hitting Emerald for the first time, and then again and again and again. And after a while, I started to think, no, I don't need this, but I want it. And the reality is, I wanted to change more than I wanted to stay the same.
So, and what do you do with a coach who stalls out, for example, at a certain point? How do you get them beyond that stalling point, that being high-centered?
I think a lot of times we just don't give it long enough, right? We're doing the right things, but we aren't patient enough. So I told them, continue. Maybe you need to go in below the surface and really share the deeper stuff like I talked about earlier. But the things that get you to diamond are the same things that got you to emerald. It's just doing it again and again and again.
Yeah, it really is a business of fundamentals and of repeating those consistently and getting better at them as you move along. Moira, we've talked a little bit before this about the power of vision and how that's played a role in your life. And we talk about it all the time, but if you were to say, yeah, there's vision, but then there's vision that drives everyday activity. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. As my team knows, I think vision is really the foundation of all of this. We talk a lot in coach trainings about our why, and I think vision just takes it a little bit deeper. I do this actually on every GSR call. I ask my coaches to do this activity. I heard it on one of those YouTube videos, and I followed directions, and I went home and did it. And what was the question that was posed was, as a new coach, if you had no time limitations or financial limitations in your life, what would you create? Knowing that that vision could become a reality in 2 to 3 years. And I went home, and I'm not a journaler, I'm not a writer, I don't do that kind of stuff, but I just took out a pen and a piece of paper, and I didn't think about it, and I just started writing. And I started with things like, just so happens that the first sentence actually says I'm a 2017 top 10 elite coach on stage at Summit. I thought you were going to be Carl, though. It does say Carl's name. I didn't know you did, Jeff. But that's what it started with, because that's where I knew to start. But the pen kept going. And what it went on to talk about was what the relationship with my husband looked like. The kinds of kids that we were raising, the freedoms that we could afford them, the places we were going to travel, what we were going to do in our spare time, the team that I was going to build, and what those women looked like, and the change that we were going to make in the world. And, you know, no financial limitations. What am I going to do in this world? What am I going to create? What am I going to start? What am I going to build? Where are we going to go? And what that looks like. And so you ask me, how does that translate to, you know, pushing me every day? Well, I can tell you I read it every single morning as part of my morning process, every single morning. And so it is smack dab in front of my face every single day. And when I used to pull out that business activity tracker, and I didn't want to invite, I didn't want to post, I didn't want to follow up, I didn't want to do all the little tiny things that are going to compound into my success, that dream was on the line. My life was on the line. That huge world that I saw that was potentially mine in 2 to 3 years, that's what was at stake.
Yeah.
It wasn't a commission.
It's a little bit like I shared earlier this morning, this definition of grit. Those that have grit and this perseverance have this very, very deep understanding of what they want and reconnecting with that. And that's the piece that drives that. Okay, Ruth. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I think
yes,
we just answer that very same question. But interesting. So another question. We talked about this before, and it caught me off guard at first. But you described this as people need to look at this more as a job, and that caught me off guard because people are saying, "No, I don't want this to be a job. I want it to be something more." But you added a great nuancing to that I think is worth sharing.
Right, so when I came into this, I was looking for a part-time job, not this one necessarily, but I thought, what the heck, because when I looked at this and I looked at the opportunity for growth in this, I truly thought to myself, like, okay, let's go in for 2 years and just see what happens. Worst case scenario, you know, I lose weight. Best case scenario, maybe I make $500 a month. Maybe someday I'll make, you know, my full-time salary at my old job. And I came into it, though, knowing it was going to be challenging and going to have obstacles and struggles. And so I chose to look at it in terms of, what if I looked at my vital behaviors every day and I acted like my boss was standing behind my desk watching, and I was getting a performance review? Because we all go to a job, or we used to, or some of you still do, so you're going to a job every day when working for someone else. What if you worked that hard on your Beachbody business in your free hours? Because I had a full-time job when I began as well. So I'd spend my lunch break, and I'd spend a few hours after work, as many as I could, working on this business and doing the vital behaviors and kind of auditing myself in terms of, when is your next challenge group start date? Have you been posting your fitness journey online? Are you inviting to your next challenge group start date? Going through that checklist of the things that were non-negotiable. Because, you know what? When you're a new coach, it's so scary, right? That first transformation photo, I posted it, texted my sister, please say, go like something on it. You know, just, it's terrifying, and I didn't want to do it either, but I took kind of the emotion out of it by looking at it as a job and a checklist, and if my boss was watching what I was doing, would I get fired, or was I going to have a job in 2 years?
Well, I think it provides a great method of just saying, what is my level of accountability, self-accountability, to see if someone were watching me, watching my actions, watching my emotion, how would I rate, how would I be doing? And I think that's that gut check that says, maybe I can do a little bit better. Okay, we're out of time, but we're still gonna do this little speed round, okay? So 3 questions, 1 word if you can, okay? The biggest mistake that new coaches make.
Following other coaches and not doing the work themselves.
You guys never keep it to one word. Okay, Moira.
Thinking. Thinking.
Too much.
Think less, post more. Think less, invite more. Think less, follow up more. Think less, do more.
Thank you for that one word. Okay, Ruth.
So hard for us.
I need to have like this little buzzer under the chairs, just like do something, but
Not taking action.
not taking action. Just kind of waiting.
Yep.
Something's getting ready to get ready. Okay, second question. The simplest activity with the greatest return.
Sharing your transformation photos.
Sharing transformation photos. Moira.
Talking to people, building relationships.
Say that again.
Talking to people, building relationships.
Building relationships. Okay, Ruth?
I don't like being last. This isn't fair. I don't think it's simple, but the greatest return being yourself, being authentic to you and your journey and your story.
Okay, last question. One word. Describe Carl Dyke.
Relentless.
Relentless.
Passionate.
Passionate.
Authentic.
Authentic. See, I would have said cute, but anyway, you guys are awesome. Well, listen, seriously, we could sit here for a long time and really pick your brains on what it takes. But I think the moment, and hopefully you as newer coaches in particular, glean from this, is there is a starting point, and what you've heard them share really are simple things. But they've taken action on those things, and they've been relentless and consistent. And those are the things that drive success over time. And they're here because they've done that consistently for 2 short years, for 3 short years. And no one is putting a cap on anyone in this business. This is opportunity that can be yours as well. So I just want to thank the 3 of you for being willing to share, and thank you and congratulations on all your success.